Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So here we are. That is my flower so far. Hours and hours of work. I cannot believe how much time I've put into this one flower. So worth it. Really happy with the encrusted beads around the top of all of the little stamens, the little silk ribbon tuft in there, and then the little tulip-like edge to that little tuft. And then, of course, all the stitching and the beading, and then I trimmed it with the gold around the outer edge. So really happy with that. My last thing to work out is this petal here. And I put it down last night because I just wanted to think about it a little bit more. Now, the other thing is the piece has come in a lot. It was already short because the piece was not quite the width of my little rice bag, but it definitely has brought it in probably 1/8 of an inch. It's not a lot and it's easily sorted, but yeah, 1/8 of an inch is where we're at. I can't decide which way it will go up. Like every time I look at it, it looks great in any direction. That's probably the true direction, but the stem is coming down here, so you would think it'd be that way. Yeah, it's very interesting. So what I want to do now is work on this leaf, and I have this petal, and I have an idea of what I want to do. Just need my little scissors. I want to inlay some lace. Now I went through all of the laces from France. The only one that I think is going to give me the most flexibility is this one because it's nearly a tulle. And what I'm thinking of doing is manipulating it to sit in here with at least the tulle side of things being the predominant. But then there's this little flower coming off here. And I'm hoping that I can make this lace follow the line of the petal and have this little flower detail coming out on it. That's what I'm thinking. And I think I can. Now, I could cut it to size and hope dearly that it works, but I bet you it won't. So I think what I'm going to do is put a classic horse before the cart scenario, and I'm going to stitch it into position exactly where I want it and then trim it back. I think that's how I'm going to do. And see how that lace has got that wispy little end on it? Well, you can't see. Let me come in closer. The lace has got this little stretched end here. I'm thinking that's just enough to sneak up into this space here. So that's the plan. We want the little flower. We don't really want the flower below, so there's a bit of a delicate. I think if I get this edge here down, that's the main part. I think if I can get this little bit here stitched, I think this will just break it up. Now, I could have stitched that petal. It just would have looked very heavy, which is not a problem, but once you sort of get past the point, you sort of then have to think, well, what do you do with the background? Do you stitch that as well? And like, my mind was going off on all sorts of tangents. I sort of felt that I'd get this flower into position. I'll keep stitching along this little edge. Now the lace does stretch, so I have a bit of give in it. The question is, can I just sneak past that edge and still get it to that edge. Yeah, I can. Okay, I might get my stitches down in here. Now I'm just using invisible stitch at the moment. And I think that's all I will need. I'm going to try and secure that petal there. Pull the tulle down a little bit there. It's a bit of a fine line of dancing around the edge of it to get everything where you want it to lay. Now I need the flower to come back up into the petal there, because there's like a little border between the gold edge and the actual colouring within the petal. So I wouldn't mind having that little bit of air, to be honest. I might snip there and there. Okay, that's better. Right. Oops. So how are you all today? Are you getting some stitching done? Or are you busy doing housework, all those boring things? Or are you listening to me doing housework? You know who you are. There's actually a couple of you that put your earbuds in or your headphones in, or I'm not sure how you actually hear me, but I hope I'm not bellowing through the house at you. At least you're having a go at some housework. I've been very slack lately. It has been my birthday weekend. Like, come on, a girl's got to celebrate. I ended up not doing much at all, actually. It's next weekend that there'll be a few parties around the place. Well, not parties, just catching up with friends. And I believe there'll be a few birthday cakes appear. So we had a fairly quiet one. That's working well. So I know the height will be fine. It's getting this edge just right so that it is all laced up. Didn't know if I'd have a lace in here that would do the trick. It's amazing what you can get out of lace. I've had a couple of questions about the lace and what I look for and that. I find I study the lace before I buy it. What can I take out of it? You know, this one's a good one because it's got that tulle background. And then there's these little scrolly embroidered pieces within it. So that gives you heaps of opportunities to do some things. Like how we can still see the pink. And there's the shenanigans. The excitement of it all. Yeah, you can still see the pink, which I really like. So I'm just following the line of the petal. Visible stitching it down. I have the sorest finger here, and that's where the thread lays all the time when I pull it through. I've been trying to change the style of which I hold my fingers, but boy, it's hard. You get into a bit of a routine without thinking. It's when I pull the thread through, it just lays there across the nail there, right there, and it's just rubbing a hole in me. Who would have thought? I could feel this little tingly spot, and I was like, what's happened now? Have I cut myself? You know, it's that sort of feeling. Now I'm just going to stretch that up into there. This is going to work. Then we've got to pick a lace to extend the panel, help the panel make it to the edge of the piece. And I also need to have a think about what I'm going to do in the background. It's sort of just sitting with a few invisible stitches here and there, but I think I need to do something a little bit more for the background. I could seed stitch it, but it might take away from the flower. Do I just running stitch it? There we go. Okay, that's pretty good. I might just go out along the actual flower because it's pretty central and just tack that down so that it really molds to the petal. I like the effect that this is given. Okay. I did not think this one side would take so long. What are we up to? Episode 4? I thought in my little head that it'd be one episode per side. But this has, oops, just knocked my pins over. This has taken forever. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but there's just some pieces you love burying yourself into, and this was one of them. I think that's pretty good. I think I can confidently say that that lace is not going anywhere. So let's trim off the excess, I think. Okay, so it's all stitched down. And now we've got to carefully, see, to do this prior to stitching it would have been a real challenge, because then how stretchy is the lace, and there would have been a high likelihood that I would have cut it too small. And I've done this technique before, but I've never had such dainty lace. It's usually been quite rigid, so you're confident that you can cut a shape out and nothing will change. This is so small that just a stretch would potentially rip it. Oops, we're still attached. Yep, there we go. Oh, love it. Really, really love it. So there's my final petal. Now the only other thing that's been in my mind is something to sit in behind there to put some fibres in. Now, I was thinking along the lines of some yarn. I sort of have gone around it the wrong way. I should have probably stitched this down first, but I'm wondering if I can get it in there. Yeah, I think I can. I just think that that's going to put a bit of interest into the center of the flower. Like, this flower is pretty full on. I'm just going to take out this pale bit here. I could probably lift a stitch and get it in there, but I don't know if I need to. I think I can probably get enough in behind. Let's see how we go. I like the flowers to have texture about them, and isn't that the word of the year, texture? We're all trying to achieve this magic texture. Let me just bend back that. Let's lay, there's an edge to this eyelash yarn. So I just get my eyelash yarn from Spotlight. So now that winter's coming into Australia, it's worth having a look at all of the yarns that are out. You can often find really interesting threads within yarns, and they're pretty good value when you think you get a 50 meters or sometimes more. And it might be a yarn that's made up of different threads, so you can actually get, you could pull it apart and wind it onto a bobbin. So if you haven't been out yet to see what all the yarns are like around the place, might be worth having a little look. You should be surprised what you can find. Okay, get that one back. It's just a matter of pushing it down deep into that lace. A couple little stitches. That's it. And there. That should do it. Now just kind of cut it there. And I'll just put a few little stitches right at that end, make sure it holds. It's one of those little jobs that if you don't feel patient in yourself, don't do it. If you're in a rush, it won't come together well for you. I think I'll end it off, then I'll get the scissors in there. Okay, so now just got to get in there and snip. There we go. So I've got myself some nice long fibres. Put that back up. Beautiful. That's exactly what we wanted. Just to continue the story of all of those little bits and pieces layering on top of each other to create the center of that flower. Okay, That's good. Now, let's see. Let's grab the lining of which this will be stitched to. And see what we've got to do with distances too. So there's the little box. There we go. That'll be stitched onto there. So we're a little bit short at the top and the bottom. Okay. That just gives us more opportunities, doesn't it? I might just trim that back for a start. Get our edge back. So is it, if I follow my edge, is that true to the size? Let's have a look at this. That goes there. So there's 1/4 of an inch that I can extend. Okay. Now, this side, the flower was just off the fabric. So do we lace that side and trim this back? Or do we leave that off like it is? I've reinforced it all with stitches, so it's not going anywhere. So that could come right up onto there. So I've got a height issue as well, so we can bring it down to that corner. I might put a pin there. Or are we going to lace the top of it or the bottom of it? Just excuse me as I sort of think here. So I need to find something to collage across the top. Oh, it's pretty close, you know. Yeah, I don't think I need anything. It just needs to be stretched a little bit. And I think if I move this up like just a few mil, like I've got space because I can utilize the fabric behind. The question is, do I put the lace? Let me just come back up a bit so you guys get more of a whole view. Do I put the lace this side and trim this side because it sort of is the whole petal? I don't know. Well, what lace are we going to use? We won't use this one. Too big. This one here. It's very fine. I like the colour. It's very delicate. It's a bit hard to trim this one down because the design is standing like that. It doesn't mean that it couldn't peek out from the front. I think it's a bit delicate, to be honest. This one here is interesting, but I'm not a lover of the colour. It's like a real ratty old piece, and that could be manipulated around because it's got this edge in the lace. It's sort of an edge through there. I could probably cut this off, but I'm not a lover of the colour, to be honest. This one's definitely too big. This is not old, could be cut down. That doesn't do anything for me. The rest of these ones in the front pocket of my container here are all bits off of clothing, like their collars and things, so they're a little bit trickier. No, I'm not seeing anything there. Let's have a look in the... Let's put these beads away. We don't need them. You're wondering what I'm looking in. I've got my little container here with all the bits from the trip. Hello, little piece. I like the colour. Right, that's not quite right. It doesn't have a decorative edge. It's not quite right. And there's a little piece. Ow, there's a needle there. That's got a good edge. No. No. Oh, wish I had bought more lace back from France. Doesn't matter. Let's see. If that got trimmed off and the piece went right up to this edge, let's assume that that happens, I think. I don't know. Do I think that? You guys are probably screaming at the TV now, or your screen's going, just stitch it on. I can't decide, guys. I don't want to rush it. I want it to be just right. I don't think that suits. It's too dense. Got a beautiful curve here. I'd like to maintain that. So I think this might be the piece to... So it could go underneath or it could go on top. If it goes on top, what do we... Say that we trim this side off and that goes right over, and then this goes on top. Or this goes underneath. And if it goes underneath, which side do we put it on? Can't believe so much thought's going into this. The other thing is, let's change the direction of it. Okay, so, oh, I like that better. That would then be the bottom, so this little edge would just never be noticed, that it disappears off the edge. Now, we're working on the top. Of it. Oh, yeah, that's it. Don't need to trim anything off. I just manipulate this lace into the top here. Because there'll be tabs sitting up, that'll support the lace into the air, and that's how it's going to go. Oh, thank goodness. I could not bring myself to, what was I going to say, to cut it. Just couldn't do it. So what I might do is let's stitch the lace into position. I think the flower's actually meant to go that way, to be honest. Let's get the lace into this. As much as we can into the... Yeah, that's good. And stitch it down. And then it won't be too high. across the top of the little box. And just manipulate that up a fraction so it doesn't look like it's completely covering the flower, but and that'll just squeeze through. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to cut that there and get that nice frayed edge. And that does leave a little piece that maybe we can do something with down there. Yeah, let's just get this one stitched on first. And once again, just invisible stitch. Sneak along all of those edges to make sure it's really secure, because these laces are delicate. Well, any lace really, you should just lots of little stitches. I know it feels probably laborious, but it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. That little itty bitty stitch there. Now I can't stitch it onto the lining yet because it's best to do 2 sides at once. Like you can, but you can, no, I will stitch it on because you can do it, but 2 at once is sort of a bit of a time saver. I think we'll be fine. We just leave the top edge, remember, because we're going to tuck a tab in there for the cordage to go around. So we're only going to stitch the sides, the 2 sides and the bottom. I might just stay back from the edge a little bit on this lace so that I can sort of peel it forward and get in behind easily. Something else I'm thinking about. So today is my Saturday. So I still haven't had my birthday-ish. I've sort of done a few different things. I'm pre-recording to sort of free up a bit of time. We haven't had the reveal of the next Roxy Creations Journal of Stitchery theme for the last part of the year. So everyone's getting a little bit excited. Especially when you've been slogging away at a piece. It's nice to know it's coming to an end, isn't it? Everyone's been trying to guess what it's going to be. By the time you watch this, you'll know. But it's been quite fun to read all of the comments, actually. Oh, this needle. As soon as that thread gets to a certain height, you know what I'm not liking? I can see the canvas through the lace. I'm just not digging it. What can I find? How much fabric's around over there on that other piece. Am I being finicky? Probably a little. The piece over there doesn't have anything I can steal off of it. Look, I'll keep going, but I'm going to just keep my stitches a little lower. In case I can find something that will tuck in there. I definitely won't be able to get any of the original fabric. So to spend hours trying to match something might be, you know, you probably can't notice it. I can there. It is bugging me a little bit. Oh, I can see myself unpicking this in the future. I'll just keep down to the bottom edge for this lace. And maybe I'll come across something that can be just slid in there. It only need to be like 3/4 of an inch. I can hear Bandit doing something just past my window that he shouldn't be. Excuse me, guys, as I just... Yeah, I've got some bales of mulch to go out in the garden. It's like sugarcane mulch, and it's got a plastic wrap, and I could hear this clicking sound, and he's there peeling the wrapper off of it. So my sugarcane mulch is being spread without my assistance. It's like it was a clicking sound, and it's him and his teeth trying to take the wrapper off. So it looks like a bale of hay wrapped in plastic. I need some more thread. You can always tell when that dog's up to no good. I can feel it in my bones because he's usually up to no good every 10 minutes. Oh, he's so naughty. He's been given, they both got new beds. I think I mentioned in previous videos, and every night there's more snow that seems to explode out of the inner of the bed. It's a thick foam that keeps the sides up, which keeps the wind out, and that's the whole point of the exercise. But he's got his snout in there pulling the foam out. I tell you, puppies. I might just hop up and grab that last flower. This is it here. So there's nothing really to cut off of it. It's beautiful in itself. So I'm just going to let it go. Unless I come across in my adventures just a little piece of fabric I can slide in there that has that same tone. Well, then I might do something about it. But at the moment, it is what it is. It's a bit tricky when your flower was only a certain size to start with. So you sort of, I always knew I had a patch. There we go. Yeah. I wonder if I've got some fabric just here. Oh, gosh, guys. See? Oh, look, I do. How close is that? That's pretty close. Oh, looks like we're going to unpick it. We won't unpick it. We'll restitch it, but we're going to snip it very carefully because we will catch lace and damage it. Oh boy, guys, it's just one of those things, once something starts to bug you, the good thing about hand sewing is it's really easy to unpick it. When it's machine sewing, I'm less likely to do something about it because it's harder to unpick your work. And I tend to not be as finicky. I don't know. And I think it's purely because of the stitch is easier. Okay. We're back to square one pretty much. So what we want to do is, there's another little stitch there that could move along. Okay. Get our delicate lace out of the way. I know you guys are laughing at me. And I know you guys would do it too. You just want to adjust it. Get this tiny little piece of lace out of the way before we make a major boo-boo. Now really, we should slide it in under. We need some more stitches out. Oh, for goodness sakes, it's like a hole. This is turning into a... Oh, I don't think I'll get it in there anyway because the little petal is right there. So that's not going to happen. So let's get that into there as far as we can. That under there, that under there, and that into there. Oh yeah. Like it's a small detail, but it's got to be done. There you go. So take two. Corrine's now happy with the edge of her bag. And that's silly. It's not silly, is it? It's just got to be done. Okay. Now, I won't trim it yet because I just don't want to... I don't know. I'm not even finishing my sentences today. I think I will trim it. No, I won't. I'll get everything secure first. I'd rather know where everything's going to sit. Like I said on that petal earlier, because the lace is so delicate and so mushy, I think for the moment it takes for me to turn that piece over and see where my needle is to make sure I'm still in the right spot. There we go. Now, it's just a case of scoot along that top edge, secure it down. Now what I might do before this video ends is I won't start another panel because I'm still thinking about design and lace and, you know, what will go on the panel. But we do need a base. So being that it's Saturday and most likely going to be watching some movies tonight, I need something to stitch. So before the end of the video, we're going to go through the French General fabric and choose a piece that can be stitched onto the panel with lots of running stitch, ready to become the base of my piece. So that's the plan. right at the end. That's heaps better. I know it's subtle, but I could really see the white canvas, and it's not even white canvas, it's a soft cream, but I could really see it coming through that lace. This, at a glance, no one's even gonna realise. Getting my hands in the right position. I can feel the canvas behind. Now going back over where I snipped it. Yeah, that's really good. I'm so pleased I fixed that. You could probably hear it in my voice that I was getting skittish on continuing. Goodness me. I haven't had any stories for you today. This is critical stitching. Got to make sure it's right. Okay, that's really good. Okay, I could probably put another 10 minutes of stitching into that edge, but I won't bore you with that. I'll just get this one last stitch in, but I think I'll come back with my needle and thread and just really make sure that that delicate lace is nice and secured. But what I want to do now is trim my fabric off. So let's get the lace back out of the way so we don't have a mishap. It should be plenty fine to be out of the scissors. Let's just check. Yeah, should be. All right, so let's just, I might even make it a fraction bigger because it won't hurt. Won't hurt because it'll give me that bit extra height in case it has, you know, moved a little bit. There we go. Gee, I didn't think I'd be able to fix that once I realised I had a problem there. Let's pull these out. Awesome, awesome, awesome. There we go. Gorgeous piece of lace at the top of the little panel. Now that should stretch out as I go and attach it to that piece. I'm pretty confident that I can give it a little stretch and even put a few stitches in around the piece itself to support it in through the flower when I attach it, just to really mould it onto the panel. Yeah, and remembering I can't stitch this top edge on because we've got to put the tab in here that the cord runs through. So I think I will go ahead and stitch it on. I can do that this evening, just working my way around the edge. Lots of pins. Yep, that'll work. And then I'll put a few just through the belly of it. I was considering doing a running stitch through the background of the fabric, but I don't think I will. I think it will compete with the flower. I think I'm happy enough just to let the fabric shine through, because another thing with stitching like that, you distort any images that are on the fabric. And there's all this leaf work down here, and if I was to run running stitch through that, it will really change the whole look of it. So I think I'm just going to leave well enough alone. Get that stitched on with a overcast stitch right around the top and the bottom and the sides. And then, like I said, I'll do some invisible stitches through the work, really pinning that canvas back to it. There we go. I love it. Really, really, really like it. I don't think I need any more lace on it. I've got this little bit here. Could do something down the bottom. I'll have a little think about it, but I don't think I will. I think I'll save that. That could appear somewhere else. Okay, before we leave each other and head off to do our stitching or our chores, I just want to bring over the box of fabrics. There's the rest of my panels ready to go. Some morsels from the French General project that have potential for this. I've still got my big panels. I want to have a chat to Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios to see what we do with this, because we're thinking we're going to do a collaboration together. So I'm just not sure what will come of that. Now, we need a fabric for the base. So let's have a little flip through. Let's see if there's one that jumps out at me. That could go on the bottom. Sort of a different colour, isn't it? It's not the right colour. Oh, I like that. Is it too good to be on the bottom? Look at that. Keep looking. If I like it too much, it means it's too good for the bottom. That'd be a good one for the bottom. It's a bit of a nondescript piece, but it's not exactly. The roses aren't bad. That's not bad for the bottom. You guys can't even see what I'm looking at. That's not bad for the bottom. It's like the roses have bled, the ink is bled, so I wouldn't say it's a pretty fabric. It does suit, and for the bottom of the box, it's not bad, and I'll do a running stitch over the whole thing. I think it needs to be that other one. Okay, I think that's it, guys. I could use something like that, but it's such a big print. I do love the colours, but see what I mean? Sort of, but it's such a big print. That, I think's a fabric that I wouldn't miss. That's probably one I wouldn't miss either, but it doesn't really feel like it suits the project. It's a bit childlike. That one there's not bad, but I don't know if I'll have green in the piece. I don't know really why I'm matching it to the front, because you're not going to see it. It's on the very bottom. I think... Now I've made a mess. Look at it, it's a mess. Oh my goodness. It was all neat and tidy, I promise you. Okay, hold the horses. We only need one. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is just allow that fraction extra because it will, you know, move. That's it. And we're going to cut. You know, when you cut to that point there, what's the rule? Do you go straight ahead or do you go round the bend because you might want a long edge there as well as a long edge there? What's the rule? What would Grandma do? Grandma would probably cut it true, like exactly to what she'd need. She wouldn't put a cut through there. See, if it's in paper craft and you're making a journal, you would just rip it straight through. So then you don't have pieces like this. But what's the rule in fabric? There you go, there's your question for the day. Do you cut straight or do you cut true? I don't even know if true is the right word. Now remembering we don't want the white of the piece of felt peeking through on this one. I want it to be very neutral and not have that white edge. So in this scenario, we're just going to trim it back a little bit. So when all of those edges come together, I can't see that wadding. It looked really cool on the Japanese bag, but it was also blues and off-white, so it sort of worked. So I'm just trimming it back a little, just a smidge, just so it's not going to be seen. Now I have stitched fairly close there, so my tacking down is going to be in the way, I think, on the final side. This one might just work. Like, I can undo it. It's not really only just holding the wadding to the canvas. This side here, I think I'm going to undo the using the big scissors to do fine work. Just breaking all the rules today. There we go. I think it's still... Okay. So now I can sneak through there and just cut that back. Mental note, if I prepare any more sides, I won't be stitching the wadding as close to the edge. I'll leave it to the edge in case I want a white look. But I always felt like I might poke some lace or something out of those edges. So I was just not wanting to. Okay, that's good. That's just pinched it back a little bit. Okay, now I can flip it over, pop on my fabric, and I probably won't invisible stitch because I'm pretty confident I can do my running stitch right through the whole piece. So that's my homework. I will stitch the flower onto my piece. If you want to see how I do all that, go back to that original series. And one of the later, well, actually at the end of nearly every episode, I tend to stitch on the panel, if I remember rightly. But go back to the original if you're new and you want to see how I attach it. So I'm just going to do a running stitch right through this. And that's just going to give me a nice base. Then I'll trim it back to the actual piece of canvas. See, even that's a bit crooked. It'll be very crooked by the time I finish the piece. I might end up doing invisible stitch because it feels like it might shimmy around. So at least invisible stitch will hold it there. Gets rid of those nasty pins. Yep. Yep, so that'll be all stitched down, trim it back, and then that will go on the bottom of the box. There, like that. Okay. All right, guys, you guys have a lovely day. Not sure what video you will see tomorrow. It'll depend, I guess, on the Roxy Creations announcement. Maybe we go on to the next panel to do with this project. I'm really not sure. So either way, that'd probably be Tuesday next week, maybe Wednesday. So we'll see. We'll see what I feel like stitching on the day. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.